You're listening to the Meet the Farmers podcast with me, your host, Ben Eagle. Please remember to subscribe to the show wherever you are listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 214 of the Meet the Farmers podcast with me, Ben Eagle. Today, we are heading to the Yorkshire Dales, to near Skipton, to speak to sheep and beef farmer Tom Carlisle, who keeps 650 ewes, 30 suckler cattle, and 2 pygmy goats on 420 acres of land. He's also recently diversified into glamping pods. On Instagram, he's known as Dales Farmer, and you may know him for his quite fantastic lamb national reels. If you know, you know. Tom married his wife Amy a little over a year ago, and they have had, to put it bluntly, an absolute roller coaster in the first year of marriage. Which I'm so grateful for Tom that he's willing to tell us more about that today. Yeah, the ups of that have included the birth of their son, William, who's currently 7.5 months old. But yeah, we'll get into why it's been quite a challenging year, to say the least. Tom, thank you so much for coming on Meet the Farmers. It's an absolute pleasure having you on. How are you doing? You've had a busy morning.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on the podcast. And what an introduction. I wasn't expecting all that, but yeah, you've seemed to have bigged me up massively. Well, quite a busy morning. I've been on the farm doing stuff, and as with farming everywhere, you try and plan one thing. Next thing you know, you're off doing something else. Something crops up, and I found myself with a couple of minutes to go, running up to my house, and then, of course, trying to do all the sign-up details for Zoom because I hadn't had that. But here we are. We're on. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we got here at the end.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your part of the world. Yorkshire Dales, of course, beautiful part of the world. But why is it so special for you?
Yeah, so our farm in the Yorkshire Dales National Park. We're near to Skipton, between the town of Skipton and village of Grassington. Born and raised here, and I suppose that is sort of one of the reasons why I love it so much. I have been to lived in other parts of the world as well, travelled a bit, but returned back here to the family farm. And it's just quintessentially Yorkshire. It's the rolling hills, the vast expansive moorland, and it's just home at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the farm. Go on to other stuff. So your sheep and beef, but tell us a little bit more your production system, I suppose, and what you're trying to achieve with the farm.
Yeah, so the farm, it's 420 acres. We primarily have sheep, so we tend to buy in around about 20 or 30 mules, North of England mules per year. From them, we cross them onto a Texel and we breed our own replacements. So the majority of our sheep are Texel cross yows, and then onto those, we are crossing them once again with a Texel or a Beltex to produce nice rounded commercial lamb, which we sell primarily as fat. Some of them we do sell as breeding gimmers as well. So that's been my job this morning. Somebody came to the farm to have a look at them, so hopefully he'll be taking a few. That's the sheep side of things. And then on the cattle side of things, we've got a small suckler herd. So we tend to buy in dairy cross cattle like British Blues, and then we're putting them onto a limousine bull for some nice commercial cattle, which we sell through the market again. So Skipton is our local market. Good, strong.
I was going to ask. Yeah, I assume that's your local market.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, we sell them through there as store cattle. So some of them, the heifers, some of them go for breeding, or some of them go for fat onto other farms to finish them. And so that's basically our farming enterprise. And then, yeah, you mentioned about the glamping pods. That was recent, well, fairly recent. We're just slightly over 2 years old into that. So we've got 2 glamping pods on the farm, which are doing really well. We've built up a good sort of following, word of mouth, and it's just nice to have something else on the farm, or something which is completely my thing, which I'm in charge of. And it's going really well.
Yeah, so do you want to do a quick plug for that? In terms of, if you've got a website or an Instagram page or something? Or?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Coxon's Farm Glamping Pods. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Google search, TripAdvisor. We've got some fantastic reviews on there. And if anybody's wanting to have a nice stay in the Yorkshire Dales, meet me, which might put people off, or
I'm sure not.
Well, yeah, that's it. It might put some people off, but I can stay out of the way if you want me to. Then, a nice little pod with underfloor heating, fantastic views, kitchenette, can sleep 2 and 2. Yeah, I basically I could talk about this all day, but
brilliant.
Just go to the website, coxonsfarm.co.uk, and everything's there.
Great. I'll definitely go and check that out after we finish this. Go back to your early life. So it's family farm. You mentioned that you have been away from the farm. You've been in places, you've travelled a bit. But growing up, did you always, the classic question, did you always want to be a farmer, or did you dream about life away from the Dales at all?
Yeah, it's a strange one. And some people will say, oh, I've always wanted to be a farmer. And even though I was brought up with it from a very young age, and I absolutely loved the farm, when I was around about 14, 15 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go into the farm. The pressure was never really on me to keep on farming. Mum and dad were very much sort of saying, you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to come back to the farm, that's grand. But if you want to do something else, pursue a different career, then by all means do that. So with my work experience, then I went to an architect's because I was quite into my drawing, graphics, stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I think my dad was very much thinking that farming's always going to be there for me if I want to do that, but explore other options, which I suppose is a very good attitude to have, because I know that some farming families have really put the pressure on the sons and daughters to take up farming and take it on. My older sister, she's nothing to do with the farm. She never wanted to be on the farm. So it was almost sort of thinking, oh, right, well, Tom will want to be. So I did my work experience on architecture and surveyors as well. And I spent a summer just working on the farm, really enjoyed it. And I just thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. I like working outside. I like being practical. I enjoy what I'm doing, being on this farm. And that was just the sort of turning point. I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. So when it came to taking my options for GCSE and A-level, then I sort of took some ones that I thought might be beneficial, biology, chemistry. And obviously, I said before, I was into my art and stuff like that, but all my graphics design. So DT as well. That's the practical side of it. It all helps really when you're running a farm. You've got to be what's the saying? You've got to be a man of many talents. Or
absolutely, yeah. I mean, some people say jack of all trades, master of none, don't they? But
that's the one. That's what I was trying to remember.
I think farmers are masters of everything. So it always amazes me how you guys can do so much. So was it carrying the story on? You actually ended up going to Newcastle to do a degree in agriculture with honours in animal production. I've never met anyone who's been to Newcastle who's spoken a bad word of it. What was your experience of it?
Absolutely loved it. I met some lifelong friends there, and out of the social side of it, I mean, that was amazing. Often people joke and say that you get a degree in drinking with an honours in agriculture, but it's the social life up at Newcastle is absolutely fantastic. The good thing about Newcastle, as opposed to other universities like Harper Adams, just to name one that a lot of people go to, I know it's probably one of the most popular universities for agriculture.
Yeah, I feel like we always have to say when we say this, other universities or other ag colleges are available, because Harper is just mentioned all the time. So
yeah. And we did go on trips down to Harper. Absolutely loved it down there. And obviously, people who went to Harper, they'll have said how amazing it is for them. But I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm probably going to end up back at the family farm here in the Yorkshire Dales. So I want to experience something which is completely different. And you can't really get much further away from the Yorkshire Dales than going up and living in a city for 3 years.
Yep. And
so it was one of these. It was like Marmite. I'd either love it or I hated it. Unfortunately, I was with a group of really good lads and lasses up there. I made some lifelong friends. I absolutely loved it while studying a subject which I wanted to study as well, but in not the normal sort of environment for an agricultural course.
Yeah, I'm getting a good impression actually of you here, of actually having those sort of further interests and sort of having an eye on actually on the outside world. And this definitely came together when you went travelling after uni. Tell me about where you went, what you got up to.
Yeah, I was heavily influenced by my sister. She is one for traveling anywhere and everywhere. The more unusual, the better. So her suggestion was to go traveling, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about going to the bog standard places: Australia, New Zealand, Thailand as the sort of exotic place, and that."
Yeah.
And she said, "You know what? I think you should go to India." And I thought, really, is that going to be somewhere where I'm going to enjoy? But you're going to love it. Oh yeah, it's so cultural, and it's just amazing. It's some place that is not as well traveled. So myself and one of my university friends and a lad that I'm best mates with round here, we roped him into it as well and said, you know what, let's go traveling. We'll go around the world. And we went for 4 months. So we didn't do a full year or anything like that. And we all agreed that while a lot of people, especially in the agricultural community, when they go traveling, they go to Australia or they go to New Zealand and they're on combines or they're doing shearing and stuff like that. We said, I don't really want to travel to the other side of the world to do more or less what I could do here, but on a bigger scale. So we said, let's just go flat out, do whatever we want, blow all our money while we're at it, and have no regrets when we come back, apart from I've not a penny to our name. So that's what we did. And like I say, we started off in India. We threw ourselves at the deep end. I think we got scammed at every single point going. To the Indians, it was almost like, oh, yes, come into my shop and buy this thing. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's lovely. That's all right. Nice gift I can give to my mum when I get back home. And you sort of hand over 100 rupees, which to them is, like, I don't know, a week's wage or something.
Yeah.
And, so they're rubbing their hands together. And we're thinking, oh, well, it's only like a couple of quid.
Yeah. Everyone wins.
Sorry?
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. So we kind of got a bit savvy towards it towards the end of the trip. But yeah, it was a great experience. And even though we were half terrified when we were sort of walking through the street, there's people shouting at us and grabbing us for pictures and stuff like that. We went to some places which weren't very well travelled by sort of Westerners and stuff. But it was an incredible experience. And then after that, of course, we went to Australia, New Zealand, did the bungee jumping, scuba diving, all the sort of standard stuff that you're meant to do when you go out there. Yeah, and then Singapore, Thailand, and then returned home and thought to myself, wow, we've just done that. How do I settle back into farm life?
I was going to say, it must have been quite a big shock to the system coming back.
It was. You sort of feel a bit lost. You've got to sort of start thinking, okay, that's all done. University's done. I've got to sort of start thinking about the family farm and almost getting a bit more sensible or fitting back in because you've gone away and it was only 4 months, but it's long enough to sort of experience everything and then think, right, I have to get back to work again.
Yeah. This episode is being supported by our primary sponsor, A-Plan Rural. Why did I want to collaborate with A-Plan Rural? Well, having got to know them, their team shares my passion for giving a voice to farmers, and we are both driven to raise the profile of farming voices to a wider audience. So it seemed quite a good fit. Quite frankly, together we will be able to do a lot more. A-Plan Rural do a lot of work on social media themselves, sharing farming accounts and farming stories. They have a rural community blog which shares farmers' experiences, and they also support a growing number of initiatives that champion UK farmers, including this podcast. So a big thank you to A-Plan Rural for supporting Meet the Farmers. Who else is with you on the farm?
So it's myself and my dad primarily. And then my mum, she helps out from time to time when we need an extra pair of hands. And my wife, Amy, she's actually got her own farm, but she'll help out when there's, we need an extra pair of hands as well. So between us, we get the work done. At busier times of year, like lambing time, we try and just employ somebody like a young lad just to help out with like bedding pens, helping out with any jobs, like lambing a few sheep, just to ease the pressure on us, really.
And sticking with the farm for a bit and thinking of its future, it sounds like you've got a fairly standard commercial system going. But obviously, there's quite a lot of change going on in the industry, to say the least, at the moment. So do you see that changing going forwards? Do you see yourself sort of adapting? You've diversified as well.
Yeah, the diversification came as when we actually went out of the European Union. And at the time, it was all up in the air. People there saying, what we're going to do when subsidies go. what's going to happen. And that was the whole spark behind the diversification. And I honestly, I came up with some ridiculous ideas of how the farm could diversify. After a night drinking with some friends, for some reason, I thought limoncello production in Yorkshire might be a good idea. I just, one of those daft things. And thinking back, I was like, yeah, that. There was, I don't know, if we could do something with wool as a fantastic product, which isn't maybe as used widely as it should be. And all sorts of random ideas. Yeah. Back then, tree planting, which I'm now sort of thinking, oh, no, we want to use the land for agricultural purposes. And then it just struck me. I was watching TV one evening and something popped up, a farmer who diversified into glamping pods. And I thought, you know what, that could work. So then lockdown happened and I was trying to plan where I could put these glamping pods if I did it. I mentioned it to my dad and his sort of response was, all right, that's very interesting. Have you done a business plan? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about the finances? Almost as if he was like testing me. No, I haven't. So, all right, well, maybe you better do that. And I think that was almost him testing me and saying, go on, and not expecting me to follow through with it. But I did. I got my head stuck down because obviously in lockdown, plenty of time to work out things and focus on things like that. So I did. I wrote a business plan and it all sort of came together. And next thing you know, I'm traveling to the place where the pods were made, a fantastic company called Loon Valley Pods, talking to them, working out on the farm where we were going to have them. And then it all just sort of started happening. I had a date when I wanted to open and it did. It all just fell into place perfectly. And we just tried to keep our standards as high as possible, keep up a good reputation for ourselves, which you can see on the TripAdvisor reviews.
Very good.
And it's worked really well. So that was basically safeguarding our farm against anything in the future. But then, going back to the original question about the future of the farm and stuff like that, that's the diversification side of it. And if we were to diversify any more, then there is scope for putting more pods in. But the more of something you have, the more extra work you have as well. So at the minute, quite happy with the two we've got. But on the farm side of things, I've been really focusing the last couple of years of improving the livestock. So just trying to improve the breeding, the nutritional, the nutrition of the animals, and just trying to produce the best quality animals that we possibly can, like commercially. And then also, particularly this year, we've been marking a lot more of our sheep for commercial breeding, gimme lambs, which is obviously what I've been doing this morning. So trying to market them and, like I say, just getting the reputation out there, and the reputation precedes you. And just improve the quality of the livestock in general.
Fantastic. But I think you can take this one if you want, and you probably get sued to the floor by Aintree. But I think you should actually make the Lamb National an actual event. I think that would do great.
Yeah, that was I suppose I think boredom. Well, actually, no, I can't say boredom because it was in the middle of lambing time. I was absolutely run off my feet. The whole idea behind the Lamb National, if nobody's seen it, then it's on my Instagram page on the pinned top 3 posts. Yeah. It's a complete mick take of Aintree and the Grand National. I did it once. I just thought this will be a bit of fun. So when we feed the sheep, when they've got young lambs, all the sheep will flock to the trough. The lambs, on the other hand, they'll go running up and down the wall sides, just playing with each other. So one day I sort of drove alongside with the quad bike while I'm checking the lambs, and I filmed them all running. And I thought, it's just like a horse race. They're all vying for position. Then one came running out. So as a bit of a laugh for my family and friends, I put a bit of commentary over the top of it and made up some suitable lamb names to them, like fluffy balls. Some of them were like lamb chicken tikka. I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head now. But
I just say, Barbara the trainer really gets me as to how you managed to get her to bleat right on cue.
Yeah, that was achieved by. I actually had to take the lambs off her because one of them was a bit hypothermic. So she's obviously blating for her lambs, and they're over at the other side of the shed, sort of feebly blating back. So I just sort of did the interview question, and under my breath went, she bleats back at me. So that's how that works. But yeah, I'm giving away the secrets here. Yeah, it took about 3 attempts to get that one.
It's honestly, geez, honestly, anyone who hasn't seen that and is on Insta, yeah, check Tom at Dale's Farmer and have a look at that. Meet the Farmers is brought to you by RuralPod Media, the only podcast production agency to specialise in the rural sector. We're on a mission to make rural stories mainstream and help businesses, organisations and communities like you tell your story through podcasting. Podcasting is a fantastic way of connecting with your audience, whoever that might be, getting your message out there and networking with leaders in your niche. RuralPod Media can help you by launching your new podcast or helping you with the technical side. We also provide podcast training and an audit service if you already have a podcast. You're not sure where to take it to next. For more information or to book a call, visit ruralpodmedia.co.uk. That's ruralpodmedia.co.uk. Challenges, opportunities for the farm in future. Where do you see the land lying with that?
Well, challenges, I mean, at the minute, then there just seems to be an ever-increasing, in the grand scheme of things, there's an ever-increasing population to feed. At the same time, land seems to be on the decline with people buying it up for tree planting, development. And it's just sort of a bit baffling, really, that people in this country, they want to be planting trees, which I'm not against, but on really good agricultural land that should be used for growing crops for an ever-increasing population, then that really does, it touches a nerve with me. Trees, obviously, very important, and on poorer agricultural land, then go for it. But that is a challenge that I can see in the future, especially when we're so reliant on imports as well. We really should be focusing on our own food production in this country. And I think that we will see in the future other countries maybe keeping a lot of the food for themselves rather than exporting to us. So we've already seen just a few examples of this. As I say, in the pandemic, some empty supermarket shelves and people panic buying for certain goods. And I hate to say it, but I can see that happening in the future a lot more. So I think that a lot more focus needs to go into protecting the farmers and supporting them as much as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about your last year. Like I say, I'm really grateful that you're going to give us an insight too, because it has been, well, a nightmare, to put it bluntly. Let's look at some of the positives. So you married Amy a little over a year ago, and you've obviously had your son since then. But can you just take us through some of the past 12 months and just explain to the listeners why it's been such a tough time?
Yeah, it has been a year of absolute highs and absolute lows. It's been a year like no other. So basically, it all starts with our marriage. Myself and Amy, we got married on the 11th of June last year, 2022. And Amy was actually pregnant at the time. So yeah, very, very early pregnancy. So that was a nice little secret to have during the marriage. And that all went well. We sort of announced that to everybody after our 12-week scan. And we went on a mini moon, went on the honeymoon. Everything was just going swimmingly. We were on top of the world. No problems whatsoever. And we just thought, this is going to be great. We're expecting our baby to be born in January. And then life took a bit of a turn, as it often can do. And the way it took a turn was Amy found a little lump in her breast. And at the time, she'd sort of Googled it like you do when you find something unusual. And she sort of put it down to it being a blocked milk duct or just something pregnancy related. But it can be bad or it can be good when you Google search something and it comes up with, it could be the worst case scenario. It could be this, it could be that. Yeah. And she got into the sort of depths of Google and then saying it could be, the C word. And we said, it won't be that, but maybe just go to the doctors, get it checked out. So she went to the doctors and they initially said, it'll be pregnancy related, don't worry about it. And she persisted and she ended up getting a bit upset because she'd read so much online. So they said, it's fine, you can refer yourself if you want, get it checked out, then just to, clear your mind. So she did that. She went to the hospital, got a scan on this lump in her breast, and they said, can we just take a biopsy on it just to be, safe and sorry? And the whole time we were just sort of thinking, it'll be fine. We'll just get the all clear. It'll be benign or it'll be nothing. And then we can just concentrate on the rest of Amy's pregnancy. And on November the 1st, we got called into the hospital and Amy was told that it was breast cancer. which was just absolutely flawed us because one, Amy's only young. She was 26 at the time. And B, she was 29 weeks pregnant. So it was just the worst news we could possibly have imagined getting. And yeah, it just completely knocked us back. We just didn't know what the hell we were going to do. And so obviously we've gone from some of the highs of our lives, our wedding day, and Amy expecting a baby and everything, to the lowest part of our life, being told that you have cancer. So we just said, look, we'll get through this together. The doctors and nurses, the NHS, have been phenomenal for us in our case, in our situation. They came up with a couple of different plans that we could go through to get through it, because obviously the baby complicated things a lot more as well. So Amy opted for surgery straight away to remove the lump, because that was just something that was in her mind. We could have gone down the route of having chemotherapy initially, but her decision was just, let's just get rid of this, get it out of my body, and then have a relatively normal pregnancy, or so we thought, followed by chemotherapy. And that was the plan. So that hopefully, because the thing was, with her being pregnant, she couldn't have some of the scans that you can normally have for fear of affecting the unborn child. Okay. So you didn't actually know if it was, how big it was, the lump, or if it had spread to anywhere else in the body. So they took a few biopsies from her armpit, her lymph nodes, and fortunately they all came back completely clear. So she went in for surgery, and they said that the tumour in her breast was actually a lot smaller than what they thought it was initially, and it hadn't spread anywhere else in the body. They were very confident about that. But they said, because we can't do some of the tests that we can normally do, then you're going to have to go through chemotherapy as well, and also try and deliver your baby at the same time. So she had the surgery. She had enough time to recover from that, and then went in for an induction, because they were quite keen to get her onto the chemotherapy, but obviously she'd have to recover from childbirth before she had that. So she was induced, and of course that didn't just quite go to plan. So it resulted in a C-section, but we got William out, and we thought, yeah, we've got our baby boy. And then he had to go on to special care because of an infection in his lungs. So it was just one thing to another to another. So he was on there for 3 or 4 days, and we finally returned home on January the 1st. So we thought, this is it, a fresh page. It's the start of the new year. We're at home. We've got our little baby boy, William, and we can now enjoy a couple of weeks of just being with him before the next stage started, which was chemotherapy. So Amy then had to go through 3 months of chemotherapy, 6 sessions, and obviously the effects that come with that, the fatigue, the achiness, the hair loss, all while raising William as first-time mum and dad. And then, of course, we had other things thrown in the way, like lambing time. So it was just absolute tester. But Amy is an incredibly determined, strong-willed person, and she just took it all on a stride. Obviously, we had a lot of difficulty at times, but the support from friends and family was amazing. We've just had people grouped together, just bringing around food for us, messages of support, and just a wider agricultural community, because obviously on social media a bit, and the amount of messages we both had was incredible, and it really gave us a boost. So we're out the other side now. We're just looking forward to rebuilding our lives and getting back to a sense of normality. And things are never going to be just quite the same again, but it's we've just come back from a nice little family break up in Alnwick, and it's just trying to get back to that normal sort of sense and working. And obviously we've had William. If we didn't have William, our son, then I don't know how we'll have got through it, because he's just been the inspiration, the motivation for us just to both be strong and support each other and support him. And that's how we've dealt with it, really.
Wow. Well, Percy, thank you so much for telling us that. I mean, what springs to mind straight away is this is absolutely testimony to your strength as a couple, as a family, as a wider family and friendship group, certainly. But also, when you come across those times, I suppose my question is, what, going through that experience for both of you, is there any sort of advice that you could give to people? Were there any sort of learning points that you took from this? I don't know, because it's such a I'm going to use the word strange actually, because it's such a there's no way that you would think this is going to happen to you in your life. You just don't think this is going to happen until it does. So, what are your thoughts there?
You can't say prepare for the unexpected because you simply can't. But when life takes a turn for the worse or something just crops up in the way, you've just got to take a minute and just think, right, okay, this is not the do all and end all. You've got to just say, right, this is how we're going to get through it. That's exactly what we did. Obviously, there was times where we were just completely worn out and we just didn't know what to do or what to say. And after that minute, you've got to have times to cry. You've got to have times to be upset.
Yeah.
And then just look at it from a brand new perspective and say, right, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we get through it. But the reason why I was keen to say the story, and to be perfectly honest, it's been especially on social media, I've not really got into it in too much detail. This is the first time I've really publicly spoken about it because we needed time to be together and get through it ourselves. But also the fact that I'm sharing it is the message is going out there to everybody to just do the simple checks. If you find an unusual lump or just something that's just not quite right, then there's no shame in going to doctors, getting it checked out, because it could well save your life. And, thank God Amy did do that. Because, there's so many statistics that you read about. Just this example for breast screening for this very specific type of cancer, it's offered to all women, and the amount of appointments that are just missed because people don't want to go to them is incredible. And it's one of these things, if you don't use it, you lose it. And a lot of young women especially, they only find out that they've got a problem when it's progressed to a stage where it's going to be a lot more serious than what it could have been.
Yeah, thank goodness with this that Amy was so persistent in those early days and actually said, no, there is something here. I'm going to follow through with this.
Yeah, that's it. So, part of the reason for explaining it, and there's some things on the horizon that we're doing, some big things to raise awareness for it. We've got a big ball planned called the Booby Ball, which is scheduled for next January. So that it was. We organised that in conjunction with Skipton NFU, who wanted to sort of organise a ball, and they got in touch with us. And Amy's done balls in the past for prostate cancer, which her dad had, and so it's one of these things that's quite that we've done before. We've organised it. It was a massive success. It raised about £15,000 last time. So she said, I want to do something in the future. And obviously this hit us, and we were like, okay, well, this is the thing we're going to raise money for. So the balls were coming, and we knew that the demand was going to be high. So we made a Facebook page and we said, there's going to be an email address put on Monday morning or on Saturday morning at 9:00. Make sure that you email this with how many tables you want. Yeah. So at 9:00, we had this email address ready to go. We put the Facebook post up, and it was like Glastonbury Festival. we had all these emails come through on the computer, and in 1 minute we'd sold out. We sold out the whole entire venue. 225 seats we had available, all gone in a minute.
Fantastic. So
that's going to raise a lot of money for a very worthy cause, the Pink Ribbon Foundation. And then other things we've got just on like the off chance, we've had a rounders tournament recently which raised £3,000. There's also something which is dead top secret, which I haven't actually revealed on my Instagram yet.
Oh,
I'm going to reveal it on here. We have been putting together a calendar. Not just your bog standard calendar, the sort of calendar where you take off all your clothes for a good cause. Yeah. So we've got another 3 months to do, and that's going to be available for purchase. But watch the social medias. I know that a lot of people who follow me on Instagram, some of them will listen to this podcast and they'll be expecting something, but a lot of people won't. But we're making an announcement officially on my Instagram page in due course about that. And how you can buy it. So if you like to, on your wall, to have a nice monthly calendar with fairly out of shape middle-aged lads and lasses, then there's a calendar for you coming up. Am I selling it or not?
I think you sold it very well. I think you sold it very well.
At the end of the day,
they're going to be flying off the shelf.
It's for a very good cause. So there we go. If anything good comes out of this whole situation, it's that we're going to be raising a whole lot of money and awareness to support other people who are in our situation, and just the general community and everybody So hopefully we're going to do a really good job out of this.
Just a little more about our primary sponsor, A-Plan Rural. They provide bespoke insurance cover for farms and estates. This could be for anything from tractors and machinery to a new exciting diversification venture. So for more information, visit aplan.co.uk/rural. That's aplan.co.uk/rural. Well, honestly, Tom, I mean, I have so much admiration for what you and Amy are doing, and definitely my thoughts with you both and little William as well. That's well done, and thank you, thank you just so much for, I suppose, continue to raise awareness of this, because that's what it's about, and just keeping everyone safe and well. We're going to start wrap this up. Time is against us, so I'm going to ask you the last two questions that I ask everyone when they come on the show. The first is, what is your message for the public? Any message?
Back the British farmers. Farmers feed you 3 times a day, and don't bite the hand that feeds. Basically, you need food. Everyone needs food. We're the ones that are going to provide it to you. So we need to support our British farmers. Obviously, farmers in general all around the world, you need to support them, but quintessentially British. As I went back to my previous point earlier on, we can't rely on imports forever. There will come a time where the shelves are going to be a little bit more empty, and we might be sort of thinking, crikey, maybe we should have given the support to our farmers to a little bit more than what we maybe did do before. So buy British, look after
Fantastic. us. And your message to farmers?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being open to the public. At the end of the day, there's some people who, for some reason, don't like farmers. But without farmers, then, my last point, then you need the food to survive. So my message to farmers is just get out there, do the best you can. I, like many other farmers, are on social media just trying to explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and be very open about it. So education is absolutely key to the general public. So my message to farmers is just try and promote the farming as much as possible. There seems to be a massive interest in farming and where food comes from at the minute, and we should take full advantage of that.
Fantastic. And finally, your recommendation for a blog, podcast, or social media account to follow, which can be farming, but it doesn't need to be farming.
There's a lot of farming social media accounts out there. Some I particularly enjoy, some of them not so much, or were good, and then they've gone a bit wayward. One that I really do like at the minute, and a lot of people on here will be following him already, is the Sheep Game. I think he's absolutely spot on. I've met Cammy myself, and he's just a very down-to-earth person. He says it like it is, but it's very watchable content on YouTube and also his Instagram. He's just a funny guy. So I really have a lot of time for him.
Yeah, great shout out. We'll leave it there. Tom, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for being open about your and Amy story once again. And just really good, interested to hear about business and the glamping as well. I hope that goes really well for you. I hope some of our listeners, go off and visit Tom up there in the Yorkshire Dales. But that is it for today. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Leave us a review. Next time we'll be in Hertfordshire, talking to arable farmer Evie Hunter. Big thanks again to Tom for today, and to our primary podcast sponsor, A-Plan Rural Insurance, for supporting the show. Please see the show notes for more information for any links mentioned today. For now, though, I'm Ben Eagle. This has been Meet Farmers. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great